Top bosses at the BBC have resigned following criticism over claims that it doctored a speech by Donald Trump. The apology is for how the team edited President Trump's speech to his supporters on January 6th. Director General Tim Davie and News CEO Deborah Tess both announced their resignations last night. Britain's public broadcaster is accused of editing Trump's January 6, 2021 speech before protesters stormed the Capitol in Washington. Critics say that the edits were misleading and excluded a part where Trump had said that he wanted his supporters to protest peacefully. The BBC has been accused of institutional bias for decades. I clearly remember the Wilson report from 2 decades ago noting that the BBC was not covering areas like Europe and immigration with genuine impartiality. And you can add to that their coverage of net zero climate policy, climate change, and their interpretation of the tragic events in Gaza. And now, of course, the President of the United States. Imagine if I were President of the United States. If I was making sure that the United Kingdom had security guarantees, allowing it to defend itself where otherwise it would be vulnerable. And then I was undermined right before a national election. People talk about election interference. What the BBC did was election interference. So much for some of them. We take this extremely seriously. There are real issues here, especially over a 3-year span. Let me also say that the BBC has produced hundreds and hundreds of hours of exceptional journalism in television, audio, and online during those years. We have done, and continue to do, strong work. But mistakes do happen. I stepped down over the weekend because responsibility ultimately rests with me. However, I want to be absolutely clear. BBC News is not institutionally biased. That is why it remains the world's most trusted news provider. Do you believe that our journalists are corrupt? Our journalists work hard and strive for fairness, and I believe in their reporting. Is there institutional bias? One way to view the controversy is that right-wing figures on the board have simply removed BBC leadership. And while that is not entirely wrong, it's also true that those in the management have struggled thus far to articulate a clear vision of what the BBC is and what its role should be. There are lots of statements claiming the BBC is trusted, but before now, there has been almost no public discussion about how the BBC should engage with and respond to its audience. I spoke to the President on Friday. There is no doubt that vigorous campaigns exist against the BBC, whether for ideological or commercial reasons, and the BBC has many opponents. That is a reality. The BBC has to handle that by being as excellent as possible, meaning not appearing to make questionable edits in documentaries about Donald Trump. It must maintain the highest standards. If it does, it gains a form of protection against such attacks. But the existence of these campaigns, alongside growing polarization in British society, does make the BBC's job more difficult.